For this video, I'm going to be taking you on a walking tour of Cypress Orchid Park. So this is kind of a special episode for me. I kind of returned to my hometown. This is where I grew up. Cypress Park was built a long time ago, and this is a place where I spent most of my childhood. Because I grew up in Coral Springs, Florida, and I graduated high school at Terraville High School. So this was my old stomping grounds from when I was a kid. I moved to Coral Springs around when I was 8 years old or so, and this is basically where I spent my youth. And it's kind of interesting to revisit something that you remember vaguely but haven't seen in close to 40 years. And that's kind of the situation for me, is I'm going back to a place that I hadn't been since the early 90s. So it's kind of surreal almost. And as I was alluding to earlier, they renamed the park. It wasn't always Orchid Park. That's the modern name now. But if you look, there's a plaque of the dedication of when it was called Cypress Park, and they hung that on the bathroom. So you see, I was zooming in on that. I'm not exactly sure when it became Orchid Park, but it was after I moved away. I don't remember them ever name dropping that. Now, Cypress Park used to be this whole adjoining parks. You know, there's a public pool just to the north of this park, and across the street there's baseball fields and basketball courts and playgrounds and those type of stuff. Now, the park across the street is still Cypress Park, but this park, they've kind of segmented them, and they now all have their own unique names. And I guess they were trying to clear up any kind of confusion that when they were planning public events and they said Cypress Park, people probably ended up on the wrong side of the street, or ended up at the pool instead of the baseball fields. And so I understand why they did it. It's just weird to me, and I'll still probably refer to this park as Cypress Park, just from a habit of calling it Cypress Park. Orchid Park is foreign to me, and I don't see myself changing. Just thinking back to when I was a kid, I'm surprised that I'm still alive because of all the dumb, crazy stuff I did at this park, actually. I'm crossing over the bridge right now, and I remember accidentally falling into that canal because of some roughhousing with friends. I can't even remember what I was doing. I think I was trying to catch a frisbee and ended up in the canal. Something else too is you'll notice that the boardwalk that walks through these areas, it's one of the few boardwalks I've ever seen where there's no railing. And that was an invitation for my 10, 12-year-old self and most of the neighbors from my neighborhood to play manhunt and hide and seek in the woods here. So we didn't stay on the boardwalk at all. This was basically where we would jump off the boardwalk and hide in the woods and play hide and seek and manhunt and all this other stuff. So, we were literally in the woods. It's amazing that anybody from Generation X survived, because I remember getting up and close, raccoons, and there was a close call I had with an alligator, all kinds of snakes, and I didn't know there were poisonous snakes in Florida back then. When you're 9 or 10 years old, you don't know about that stuff. And all the close calls I had with various wildlife from jumping off this boardwalk, it's remarkable that like any of us survived childhood, because we were nuts. And I think Generation X was probably the most physical of any of the generations, because we were just doing crazy. Obviously the frontiers and everything where they were farming and stuff, but when it came to what we did for recreational activities, we were completely insane. You have to understand too is when we were kids, every restaurant, whether it was Burger King or McDonald's, they had a playground, and we were running around playgrounds like for almost every lunchtime. And I remember, climbing up to the top of the jungle gyms and jumping off basically the top of it, mimicking what I saw on the A-Team, Hannibal Smith jumping off the side of a helicopter and all that stuff. And we were crazy. We were jumping off the tops of slides and stuff, 10, 15-foot jumps and landing in the mulch. And, they had the big steel playgrounds with the slides that you could burn your backside on if you were wearing shorts, because the sun would just bake it and it would turn into this, basically a grill, and you were like a shrimp on the Barbie going down the slide. I will say this, I am pleasantly surprised and happy that this park is so well maintained. So many things from my childhood I've gone back to visit as an adult and just been cringing at how they've let things go. But Carl Springs does do an amazing job maintaining their parks, and I am grateful that at least one of the things that I grew up with as a kid still exists in largely the same condition that I experienced when I was a kid. And I'm pretty grateful, because the rest of South Florida was pretty much a disappointment, but at least this was one of those highlights of the trip. I'm not going to try to talk through the entire 20 minutes of this particular walk. I'm going to just play some music so you can basically just, I guess, get a glimpse of this park. This video is a bit of a departure from what I normally post on this channel. Obviously, I stick to tourist attractions for the most part, and this is definitely not a tourist attraction. But you know what, if you're a local of South Florida, you might drop in and check out this park, because it is a nice place to go for a nice leisurely walk around the boardwalk, and it loops around. There's a pool here with a water slide, and it didn't have a water slide when I was a kid, but it's got a water slide now, so it's a pretty nice place to spend a day.
My heart rages around like an ocean in my head, because there are so many things that I left unsaid. I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that is not reality. If you are echoing around inside these parallel dimensions all alone, know I'll find you in my dreams. My heart rages around like an ocean in my head. I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that is not reality. If you are echoing around inside these parallel dimensions all alone, know I'll find you in my dreams. I'll find you in my dreams.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Adventure Schmuck. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See everyone next week.